assault cycle. In the assault cycle, we map out the phases of an altercation and a person's response to a perceived threat. Okay? So at the top here, you have a trigger phase. So it's something that triggered an individual to feel like they were under threat. It doesn't have to be a physical threat. It could be the threat of embarrassment. It could be the threat of a loss of material goods. You know, you've damaged their car, you've stolen an item belonging to them, or in some cases it could be the threat of harm to their body or to a loved one or to something they hold dear, the dog, whatever. So there's a perceived threat here, and this triggers the person. Right? The next phase is where it escalates. So their response is to escalate this. They get a bit more agitated, and usually this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so in relation to a fight taking place, someone might have triggered them off by saying something insensitive to them, at which point they respond. And when they respond, the person might answer back, and it escalates. So the person's body prepares for a fight. Whether they realise it or not, anatomically they're building up for a fight. So the adrenal glands produce adrenaline and noradrenaline, flood the body with it, and the fight or flight response is initiated. You probably see the posture changing, the mandible or the jaw coming down, covering the esophagus, the jugular vein, the carotid artery. This is a protection mechanism. So sometimes you see the head going down, you see the shoulders going up. The shoulders go up because the trapezius muscle is pulling on the back of the neck, and the sternocleidomastoid muscle on the front of the neck. And the idea in this is to support the cranium or the head for an impact. You're less likely to be knocked unconscious because you're less likely to suffer concussion because the head won't move as much. Like that's if they preempt it and they see the threat coming, the body prepares for a fight, and it prepares for a fight by doing just that, stiffening up. You'll see the shoulders going, so even when the person doesn't realise they're about to get into a fight, you might see the posture change, the fists, you know, the hands going white, the fists clenching, the shoulders going up, the head going down. You might notice that this phase here. The next phase is the crisis phase. This is where the individual lets loose. So it can be a state of excited delirium, where the person just loses control and starts getting physically violent, and that's the crisis phase of the assault cycle. Then we have the recovery phase or the cool down phase. In the recovery phase, this is where the person is starting to return to baseline. So they still have all the hormones in the body from here. It doesn't go for about 2 hours. But in that 2 hour, 40 minutes to 2 hour period, as they're cooling down, they can easily flip back here if maybe the person starts taunting again, or another member of that group comes over and initiates another attack, or a response that's hurtful to them, or anything could send this person from the recovery phase back into the escalation phase. After this, you have the post-crisis phase. Sometimes referred to as post-crisis remorse, post-crisis depression. People tend to suffer depression, remorse, fatigue in this phase here. Now remember, in a nightclub setting, for example, the doorman might not see the trigger phase. They might not see someone bumping into somebody else or saying something to their partner or a friend. They might see the escalation phase where words are exchanged. They might see the crisis phase where blows are exchanged, or two guys are grappling or two girls are grappling on the floor. When they separate them and bring them out the door, some of the time they'll start going into the recovery phase. Sometimes they stay in the crisis phase and attack the security staff. When they start to come down a little bit, they go into the recovery phase. When they get to this phase, sometimes they're genuinely remorseful and they're apologising to staff. They don't know why they did this. They're getting depressed, they're embarrassed. But a lot of the time you won't see that either. Sometimes this happens at home, or this happens when you've thrown them out of the club, or when you've made an arrest and the person is in the security room with an Garda Síochána and they're taken down to the station. That's when this occurs and you won't be present for it. So you're usually present for this part here because everybody sees the crisis phase. If you're observant, you'll see the escalation phase. And if you're really on the ball, you'll spot the trigger phase. And then you can stop this from happening before it gets to the escalation phase using verbal diffusion techniques. So for instance, if you see something happening here, if you interject and say, guys, I can see this is going to get blown out of proportion, can we find some way of preventing this from getting any further? Get the two people to shake hands maybe. If someone's taking the wrong drink, say, listen, what about if you buy him a drink, or, throw that drink out, we get 2 drinks. can be anything. If you can stop this from happening here, you can prevent it from going any further. If it gets down to here, sometimes it's only physical intervention or very good verbal diffusion that's going to stop this here. Okay, so the earlier you get to this, the easier this is to stop. And after you've separated the two parties or you've stopped this in the crisis phase, it's important to realise how easy it is to go from the recovery phase back to the escalation phase. So the minute you have stopped this and you have diffused the situation verbally, physically, however, keep the two parties separated or keep the person away from what antagonised them in the first place. Okay? So stopping that from happening again. The way in which you speak to someone can be huge. Your posture, your body language. Okay? When in this phase, I do recommend open gestures. Yeah? I don't recommend standing directly in front of the person where you're liable to get hit in a vulnerable area. I do recommend standing side on, having your hands above the level of the threat. Okay, adapting the weaver position so you're in a stable position. Maintaining eye contact, not in a threatening fashion, but to show that you're interested. Okay, I'd often tilt my head towards showing that I'm interested, but also getting prepared that if the individual does throw a punch or a kick, that I'm prepared to deal with whatever it is they throw at me. But I am genuinely listening to them, because active listening is a huge part of it. You can't fake that. If you genuinely look interested, they will know you're genuine. So if you haven't got that ability to be genuinely interested, you're probably in the wrong line of work if you're working in security anyway. And then little tricks like maybe mimic the way they're standing. Again, do this in a safe fashion. If they're standing with their legs crossed, I don't recommend mimicking it. But if he's leaning against the wall and he's pointing and all, maybe it wouldn't hurt if you'd done the same thing. Looked at him when you were talking. But the whole time I would be ready to defend myself. If this diffuses the situation, yes, I would consider not adapting as much of a stable platform, but at no point would I let me guard down completely. I'd keep my hands above the level of the threat. I'd make sure my personal space was kept relatively sterile, as much as humanly possible, and I'd be constantly aware of any potential threats and try to keep as much of the field of vision open as I could. And then repeating back what the person says to you. If they're saying that guy did this to me, just say, well, let me get this straight. You're telling me that guy done whatever to you. Okay, well look, I can't go over there and hit that guy. What I can recommend is you guys go two separate ways. We'll call the Gardaí, we'll show them the footage, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay? In doing this, I'm showing them that I am interested in this problem. I'm not willing to go over there and make it worse. Explain to them straight up, look, I'm not going to go over there and allow you to, get back into that fight with the guy. So set the parameters there. You're not going to just let them run wild. But yeah, look, I am listening to your problem, and yeah, I am willing to address it. You stay here, we'll call the guards. Look, we'll get a guy to follow him up the road, so we'll tell the Gardaí where he is. We're not going to grab hold of him, because we didn't see the beginning of this, so because of that, we wouldn't have the right to make a citizen's arrest on someone that we didn't witness in the act of an indictable offence. But yeah, you stay here, you call the guards, we'll give him access to the cameras, and we'll tell the guards where he is. So at this stage, you're showing the guy that you have a genuine interest in what he's saying. You're setting the parameters, not willing to break the law for him. But sometimes just lending an ear and showing that you're reasonably interested in what they're saying can diffuse it. All the time, making sure that your personal safety is paramount. Just because I'm listening to your problems doesn't mean I'm going to jeopardise my safety, to help you. That's basically what the assault cycle is. So the 5 phases: trigger, escalation, crisis, recovery, and post-crisis phase, or the post-crisis cool down, remorse, depression. Right? They're the 5 stages of it. It's important to know them, because as a security guard, you can be in, someone could be at any phase here, and you might not be aware of it. You might not have seen the fight, you might not have seen it escalate, you might not have seen the start of the altercation, the escalation, the fight itself, or even the people that brought the fight up and them calm them down. You might just come in when the person is crying and upset. And at that stage, someone might say the wrong thing and kick it all off, back off to the start. So being aware of this cycle is very important.